to my clock, it's 5:30, and I appreciate you coming on time so we can get started on time. I had the pleasure of stopping at a local restaurant for lunch, and I saw a parent that I know that I often talk to, and she asked a question, "Superintendent, if it's raining, will this event still take place?" And I asked her the question, "Have you ever been to a football game in the rain?" And she said yes, and my answer was yes. Because this event is really about what's happening in the community and how the district is going to embrace each other to make it work. But here's the first question, and I need someone to raise their hand because I need to know how you did it and how you're doing it. Are you working with the same budget from 2009? Okay, anyone in the room? Okay, so the question, technically, this is the only slide that I should be showing you because this is where the facts are. No one in this room is working on the same budget from 2009, but people are expecting schools to do it. You can't. This is not a situation where the dollars have been manipulated. This is not a situation where the dollars have been exploited. I think we have been very, very good stewards of the money. That's why we've been able to manage it from 2009. The connection to 2009, folks, is that's the last time an operating levy was passed in the district. New money. You're not working with the same budget that you have from 2009. So here's what the plan looks like. And I will tell you before there are any questions asked, we have a responsibility to make sure that the budget is balanced. That is the responsibility that every school district has in the state of Ohio. But we do understand something that with the fair funding formula, funding has not been fair in the state of Ohio since the beginning of time. And people were expecting it to get better. Well, we have to put ourselves in a better position in the event that it doesn't. We still have to operate the district with integrity. So at this point, you're going to know that my job, along with the treasurer, we've been charged with something by the board. Reduce the budget. This year by $1.5 million, and next year by $1.5 million. Total is $3 million. That's the issue. And for people who made a decision of not coming out to support the levy, that's their decision. But remember, when you don't come out and support the levy, you actually voted. You just did it in a different way. By not showing up, you voted. The proposal, $3 million for 5 years. The last time the levy passed for new funds was 2009. So I did a quick calculation. For a homeowner, and I just put it on the higher end, meeting with Ms. Kuhn at a meeting on Monday, she kind of gave me an idea about the average homeowner in Green Hills. So I took it to another level, and I said a $300,000 property. A $300,000 property over a 5-year period, 5 years, if you supported the levy, it would have cost you $2,800 over 5 years if you owned a $300,000 home. Here are the pieces to the puzzle that have to go together in order for the project to work. Number one, we're talking about doing something that most districts really wish they could do. We're talking about incorporating a community learning center for young people and for the people in the community. There are not many doctor's offices in Green Hills or Forest Park. And I think that people receive the wrong information when we first discussed it. They thought we were talking about a rec center. This is not a rec center. This is where you can get dental services, you can get hearing services for young people to evaluate their hearing, and also vision. And one of the good parts about it, people ask the question, well, Superintendent, most of the people that really support the work actually live in Forest Park. So why did the Community Learning Center go to Green Hills? It didn't go to Green Hills. It actually went to where our We Warriors are, our smaller kids, because those are the students that need to be evaluated. The other part, I don't know if people realize, but we are repurposing the intermediate building. And in the intermediate building, there will be a community learning center in that building as well, which is in Forest Park. So we satisfy both parts of our customer services. When our students are not using the community learning center, it's open to the public for medical opportunities. Who knows what COVID looks like? Who understands the purpose of how COVID just devastated the community? Imagine being able to do our vaccines right there in our community learning center with you guys having to go nowhere but right here. Any parents in the room ever had the opportunity where you needed to take your child to the doctor, and because the doctor's office were so busy, you had to miss maybe an entire day of work? We've been there. Or they schedule you in the middle of the day. Well, in the community learning center, you're right here. Your child is here. They get to be seen by the physician, and then you're on your way back to work. We have a great partnership with Mercy Health. Mercy Health says, I am definitely interested in this project, Superintendent. We can make this happen, but we can make it happen at both campuses. People talk about the fine arts. People talk about the athletics. And when you start talking about what's going to be eliminated, people say, don't bother these things. Well, they're on the table. Just the reality of life. So, am I going to hire a music teacher or a calculus teacher? Don't answer that question, because I already know the answer. But you look at what happens with the fine arts program. They've been endorsed and nominated again by NAM as being one of the best music programs in the region. You don't get that by accident. So if you have a reduction in services, how do you get that opportunity again? You can't. Football program. They win a state championship in the middle of COVID. Who does that? This team. Girls basketball team had one of the highest GPAs in the region. And so when you start talking about reducing things, we have to be very careful. Who saw the musical Matilda? The musical was so enlightening to me, I think I sung every song on the way home. Those were actually middle school students that were performing in a musical. By the time they become seniors, they're going to be Broadway production people. But you can't have that opportunity if you don't pay the bill. So people want amenities, they want more, but they're not willing to give more. You have to give more. There's not a district in this region that has not passed taxes or raised taxes. It's impossible. And I do believe in public education. I'm a product of a public school. How many people are? Someone paid for you. That is not even an accident. That is very intentional. Someone paid for you. And you know what happens when the levy doesn't pass or the bond doesn't pass? Young people get very confused because young people don't realize that adults actually vote against them. They don't understand that. You're not voting against me. This is about children and opportunities. We have one resource officer in the building. One in the building. My colleagues up the street have 18. One per building. Sometimes two per building. We have one in the entire district. One. That's unacceptable. So when that officer actually gets hired by us, which is really the plan, guess what happens? When he's not working with us, or she, they work in their own jurisdiction. Forest Park, Green Hills, Springfield Township, they don't have enough resources to buy additional officers, but they can tell you they need them. Why not partner with the school and let us do it collectively together? I'm going to show you a few slides of some things that have happened, and these are not slides about 1967, 1978. These are slides that happened in 2021. But there's going to be a very, very important part about the slides once we show each one. 12-year-old student shot to death at Greenville, South Carolina. Student stabs another student at San Jose, California High School. Student wounded in shooting at Erie, Pennsylvania High School. And by the way, these dates are all 2022. School police in Atlanta shoot woman involved in skirmish outside of a high school. She came to check on her child, had a gun, and the police had to shoot her in the hand to get rid of the gun. 2 teens charged in Boston school shooting that wounded 2 as they were going to a basketball game. Here's the problem. Every one of those tragedies, guess what happened afterwards? People funded it. They gave more money and had more officers. Think about it if that's your child. Isn't that really too late? We're going to pay for something after a tragedy. Is that the way we're supposed to live? Is that the way we're supposed to live in 2022? The answer is no. Anybody ever know that people changed rules and had different things happen after the tragedy and people want to come up with a task force? I don't want a task force. I want to make sure that my children are protected inside of the school and outside of the school and staff every single day, all day. What do you think happened when these tragedies took place? Did enrollment go up? No, enrollment dropped tremendously, but funding increased. So what does that tell you? Do we have to wait for the tragedy to get the funding to take care of the resources to make sure there's more than one officer? The resource officer that we have is a one-man show. One. Is he entitled to a vacation? Is he entitled to a break with his family? So when he's not here, where's our backup? There's no backup. And I'm not talking, if you look at what happens with the administrative staff in schools, our administrators are absolutely awesome. Our teachers are awesome. The kids are awesome. But there's always the possibility of something going wrong, true or false. If that wasn't the case, we wouldn't need officers at all in the city. How many of you would be happy to know that in the city where you live, in the community that you live, that the officers are underfunded, underappreciated, and underutilized? You wouldn't be safe. You wouldn't feel safe. That's what creates a community. Anybody in the room ever had the pleasure of speeding on I-75? You slow down when you see what? The police. The police is a deterrent to things that could go wrong. And someone asked the question, is it that many negative activities in the school superintendent where you need a police? No. The police are there to prevent, to guide, to serve, and protect. But you can't do it when you don't have enough resources. Everybody knows this is an issue. And if you notice, the first part of the word is improve busing. We know the busing is not ideal, but the busing is not ideal all over the country. So we just saw a billboard, and it says $4,000 signing bonus to drive for this company, for this bus company. Somebody has to compete with that. And big companies like Walmart and Amazon, they're paying drivers like $90,000. But most of your drivers that are in this community, they drive the yellow buses and they operate it with integrity because they care about children. But they have to have competitive wages. Otherwise, they go to the next person. Not that it's anybody in this audience, but I'm sure it's happened before. Anyone here ever changed jobs because there was a better opportunity somewhere else? Higher wages, higher opportunities so you could take care of your families? I can tell you, and if you ask the teachers, they will be able to give it to you and they will be able to say it in a resounding fashion. We make sure that our teachers are professionally trained. The PD is second to none. However, when we put a lot of resources and time into the professional development, and then we can't increase their salaries, well, the next part of the problem is they have to take care of their families. They go to a neighboring district. They go somewhere else. And that neighboring district is absolutely excited. They don't have to pay for the professional development. We've already taken care of it. We can't have that revolving door. Same for all staff members in our district. When we put the time and energy into resources to make sure they can take care of the children appropriately, well, guess what? That costs money. It's not free. So in order for this process to work, and we're talking about cutting $1.5 million this year and $1.5 million next year, the problem about the cuts is they don't come back. They don't come back. And at the end of the day, if we gave you the pink slip and we cut you and then we said, I think we have the money, would you want to come back? You no longer trust the system. So at the end of the day, we have to figure out, when we talk about staffing, people say, well, can you cut paper and pencils and pens? That won't do it. We're talking about real bodies, FTEs with benefits. That's what you have to cut. That's what you have to sever. There's no other way around it. Every staff person that we have on tap right now, I think they are doing an incredible job of taking care of your children, and they should be applauded. Because this work is hard. Remember, your kids missed 2 years of school. And there was somebody on the computer back and forth making sure they were getting all the resources. And when we talk about the resources to young people, I remember starting this conversation with Principal Martin, asking him about how many honors diploma students do we have in our district. And at one point in time, we had 10. Well, folks, if the people are not doing the job that we need them to do, I would beg to differ, because this year we have 60. How did that happen? And receiving an honors diploma is not an easy thing. But do you think that if we have to make cuts to staff, we get more kids receiving honors diploma? It would be an impossibility. It's a contradiction of the work. It doesn't make sense. We have 2 beautiful campuses. I can tell you, regardless if you want to accept it or not, it increased your property value. Your property is more valuable because the schools are there. There's a benefit to what you have. The problem that we have in the community is when you become dissatisfied, when teachers become dissatisfied of how they've been treated, they go somewhere else. And if we start cutting amenities to young people, and we start cutting sports, and we start cutting music programs, guess what? Their parents love them, and they know about resources. They're going to go to another district. Why wouldn't you? The whole goal for us of having athletics and having the arts in the school district is so that you never have to pay for higher ed. That your children are so dynamic, so resourceful, so incredible that a company comes or a district comes or the colleges come and say, I want your kid to perform for me and I will pay their tuition for the 4 years or 5 years. We're initiating a new program in conjunction with Miami University where young people will actually, the last 2 years of their last 2 years of high school, they would actually transition to Miami Hamilton. They would be there for 2 years. When they leave Miami Hamilton, they would have a high school diploma and an associate's degree. That means 2 years off of college for you that you don't have to pay for. We're trying to find every possible resource to make our district dynamic. But the reality is, cuts will have to happen if the levy does not pass. All-day preschool, top of the food chain. Where's Ms. Stiles? Incredible. Thank you for everything that you do, because that preschool is 5-star. Oh, by the way, there are other stars that you can get, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 5-star preschool rated every year, every single year. And if you notice the intermediate building, and Mr. Denny can talk to you at a later date about what that plan looks like. Well, in an intermediate building, we're renovating the school because we don't have enough space for our preschoolers. The program is growing. It's growing because we are putting something in place that many districts don't have, a 5-star opportunity. Guess what? That program is expanding and the building is being renovated without coming back to taxpayers again. We're doing it without coming back to taxpayers again. So when we talk about making the real shift and making the work work, we're going into it and looking at every dollar, every cent, every day to make sure we don't have to come back to you. But in some cases, when you start talking about not having a levy passed in 2009, we have to come. We don't have a choice. 5-star. Anybody seen other preschools with stars that are not 5? Well, guess what? You don't have one. You have the top. In order to keep the top, you have to stay on top. Someone asked a question, Superintendent, why do we have students that are open enrolled? 2 reasons. First of all, open enrolled started before me, and I'm happy that it's here. Because if everyone around you is open enrolled and you're not, they can take kids out, but you don't get kids in. So you have to change with the times. Open enrollment is actually keeping us moving in the right direction. Imagine, we talk about having this incredible project-based learning district, but if it's unique the way that we say it is, and young people have to move out because their parents are saying we have to find different affordable homes, why couldn't they stay here? Open enrollment helps them do that. Anybody in here moved since 2009? You moved from one community to the next. Well, the beauty at Winton Woods, you get to stay because we want your kids to stay. Because at the end of the day, it's not the young people who are making the decisions to move, it's the family. All of these parts go together. They don't stand alone. And at the end of the day, when you put the puzzle back together, all these pieces are representing who we are and what we're trying to do. Now, I know someone said, oh, I thought he was going to talk about cuts. Folks, I've been in a district where cuts have happened before. If you talk about anything that will destroy morale, then when you start talking about particular cuts, people want to start talking about who they are. They want to start naming people. Remember, the people that are working in the district are providing a service to you and your families. And if we start talking about what we're going to eliminate, people want to know whose name is it. Is that good for morale? That destroys morale, and it destroys the fabric of everything that we've tried to create. And as I mentioned before, at the beginning of the conversation, young people don't understand when the adults in the community haven't supported their educational opportunities. They don't understand it. They get confused. When we say we're going to put a levy on, the kids in the district believe like, okay, so what's next? Because we know that's going on and we're going to have other amenities and other great opportunities. They don't realize it's a struggle. No new money for 13 years. So the question came up, Superintendent, why haven't we been here before? Well, believe me, we were close. But then the Elementary and Secondary School Relief Fund came in, but that's only a short fund for a short amount of time. It cannot sustain a system. It wasn't designed to. It's the relief money where we experienced all the issues from COVID, where Ms. Hobbs had to go out and purchase more Chromebooks. Mr. Denny had to go purchase more masks, more services, more sanitizers, more equipment, more cleaning agents. So instead of taking that money, I'm going to tell you, every district in this community would have been decimated if they had to use their resources for taking care of COVID issues. There would be, every superintendent in this region would be doing a presentation like this. So we use the money for what we were supposed to use it for, but now, and it's not to be used for salaries, it's not to be used for, there are certain things you could use it for because they're guidelines. And the money is a one-time deal. It runs out. It ends. Raise your hand if you would want me to hire you as a superintendent. You want me to hire you with money that's going to run out quickly within a year's time. You wouldn't, because there's no sustainability for your budget in maintaining your household. So those are the facts. And I know that my good friend Tony from Waycross is filming this, and I hope everyone gets to see it, because this is the truth. I came tonight to talk to you about facts, not my feelings. My feelings don't matter. It's the facts of the stability of the system that we're talking about. Is Beth Miller here tonight? Okay. She's receiving all kinds of endorsements. The choir, We're getting all kinds of endorsements. Can the band come perform? Can the choir come perform? Can the orchestra come perform? And you know, we talk about the young people that won the state football championship. Winning is expensive. Winning costs money. You can't drive these yellow buses around to all these tournaments and games. It costs money. The other thing, we were talking about academic success. And Mr. Martin gave me some information that I thought was absolutely stellar. We talk about athletes and we talk about the opportunities and all the amenities that they bring and all the great things that they bring to the system. The boys actually played 16 games. 16 games. 6 passed what they were supposed to play because they went to the state championship. 32 boys had 3.0s or higher because somebody took the time to keep working with them academically to get them to the next level. 16 students right now are playing Division I football, and parents are not paying for it because they have the right GPA and the right ACT and the right attitude. This gets born right here. And if you think people won't leave if you don't bring the amenities, you're probably mistaken. They will. Because people say, I deserve the best, and how do we get the best? Sometimes the best costs more. So this is just a conversation with the community, and I'm hoping you guys, everybody in the audience, spreads the word that if you stay home, you can't help. I can't tell you how to vote, but I can tell you that you should. It is your responsibility to make this community better than the day you found it or the day you were born into it. Original people that lived in Green Hills and Forest Park, that's the only community you've ever lived in. Raise your hand. That's your town. That's your community. And you're responsible for it. I had a gentleman who I call a friend, even though we battle on the phone from time to time because he challenges me and pushes me and then I push back. He said, why can't we be like Mason? The question to you is, why can't we be? When they want something, they fund it. They pay for it. Because they're not willing to lose more in order to get this thing accomplished. They pay for it. And so we have to figure out, I gave you the figure of a $300,000 property over a 5-year period, $2,880. Over 5 years. $16 a month for a $100,000 property. What is the price of Starbucks every day? What does it cost you to get to Starbucks every single day? More than 16. So again, figure it out. We will work collectively together. If you say, Superintendent, I really would like to have you give your message to a smaller group of people in my home, in my restaurant, in my community. Folks, I will come anywhere you ask me to, and I will give you the facts about where we are. This is not a scare tactic. This is none of that. This is about facts. So, questions? Any question you ask me. Yes, ma'am. Yes. What we found out, thank you, that's a very good question. She asked the question, are preschoolers open enrolled? Parents have figured out the sooner I can get my kid in school, the better he can perform, the better she can perform. And you know that all the data and all the research in the world shows early entry helps the child become very successful. There is no way to dispute that. Those are facts. And you can go to any community anywhere and they will talk about it. The state of Ohio is talking about now how to make preschool a requirement or how to fund preschool. Preschool is underfunded. And the whole system is underfunded. We did not create that formula. We're fighting against it to make it work. But we don't want to fight our parents. We don't want to fight our teachers. We don't want to fight our administrators. We want to work collectively together. because we can. How did other people do it? They worked together to figure it out to make it work. We are that smart, we are that talented, we are that committed. And we are committed to your children. We're going to figure out a way, but we need to figure out a way without making the cuts because they will not be restored. That will be lost forever. And along with it, staff, along with it, children, and along with it, your support. You wouldn't want to support something that's starting to go down the tubes. But it takes funding to make it work. There's no substitute. You have options in your life. If they raise the rates of your MasterCard, you just stop using it. Many people don't. If they raise the rate of gasoline, do you stop driving? Maybe you combine trips, but this is not the way that it works in schools. And if you want to look at the fair funding formula and check with the ODE, you will see it all across the board. The funding has not been fair since the beginning of funding. Ms. Kuhn asked Mr. Seymour to get her some data because she's on the internet and having conversations with people to balance and say, folks, listen, you don't have the facts. And basically with the funding, it stated, someone stated that Winton Woods per pupil funding spending is higher than anybody in the region. Not true. If we had some of the funding, the spending of some of these other districts, I wouldn't be here right now because we would have enough resources. So when people give you information, if you were consulting with me or with the treasurer or a board member, they will be able to give you the facts. Don't go by what people are telling you when we can put the facts in your hands. Because it's not a myth. This is not make-believe. This is real. And I can tell you, in order to be fair to the staff and to the students in this district, because there are a lot of staff members that love the kids, and there are a lot of kids who love the staff. I know that for a fact. But when the decisions have to be made, I need to let the staff know as soon as possible. Why? Because I want to be a fair superintendent, and I want to make sure these people can land on their feet and find other employment. I'm going to let them know. Yes, ma'am.
Like we do. How do we let them know even go to McDonald's for that. But when you invest in education, you are building your family up, you're building the community up. Property values have gone up because of the school. Why would you be against something so great?
But Dr. Dees, I think the other part, and I appreciate your comments, a few people are making decisions for a lot of people. That's the truth. A very few, there are small pockets of people making decisions for large groups. And that's where this team comes in, and that's where the conversation really kind of bends itself, where everybody in this room knows something that's good about Winton Woods City Schools. The question is, do you share it, and how do you utilize it, and how do you make it work? Yes, ma'am.
So, my name is Angela Knight, and I have two kids in the district. One's a junior, one's a freshman. They're both in AGS. They both play double sports. I've been out to vote, yes, every time Levy's been on the ballot. I live in a little pocket of Springfield Township, right off of Fleming,
yes,
across from the water.
I know where that is.
There's probably myself and maybe two other families that attend Winton Woods that live in that subdivision. And like you said, there are vote no signs in 25 of the neighbors' yards. And they are very vocal about voting no against Winton Woods Levy. Because our property taxes are already $5,000 to $6,000 a year. And people don't want to add another $400 or $500 a year on their property taxes.
Totally understand.
Springfield Township is one of the highest in the county for tax rates. And to be frank, my neighbors are like, we don't want to pay no more. Especially when none of their kids go to Winton Woods Schools. They all go to private school, all of them. And so I hear you when you say share the facts. I would love to have those facts to share, because what they see and what they vocalize to me is, you guys have failing schools, my kids don't go there, and I don't want to pay more tax. And I can say, well, my kids go there, and they love it, and they're smart, and they're top grade students, and they're good citizens, and they're well-rounded, and people love them, and they're, I mean, I can only say so much, and I can only say, like, you're failing our kids because you're not investing in them and you're not giving them a chance. But they still come back to me with, you guys are failing on the state report card, we're using Ed Choice vouchers to send our kids to better schools, and, I mean, how do I combat that? And I've invited them here. I don't know if any of them are here, so if you are, thank you, but I invited them all to come out tonight so that they could share their concerns with you. But I would love to have those facts to say that's not the case. I mean, I can tell you my experience, but what are those hard, cold facts to say that, look, that's not true?
You know what's interesting? And we've seen the signs. The signs that they put in the yard. Yes, the signs that they put in the yards.
They pay to have them made.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which that could actually, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That could fund the...
Yeah.
You're putting a lot of, and the other part is, they do get some benefits from us. They do get benefits, absolutely, absolutely. Yes, they do get benefits. So what's so ironic about it, but that's a small amount of people making decisions for a lot of people. And when you start looking at the voting power of what's happening in Forest Park and parts of Green Hills and in parts of Springfield Township, a small amount of people are coming out making the decisions. And that's where, so if that's their mission, to come out and talk negative about the district, that's their job, that's their goal, they're reaching their goal. But that's not our goal. And if we really came out like we were supposed to, that voice would be the voice, and guess what? We would have the resources to do better. Yes?
Yeah, so thank you for this presentation. I have both a response to something you said and a question. So the response that I think is best suited for the question of why can't we be like Mason is that we don't want to be. If I wanted my son to go to that
Very good.
school district,
Thank you.
I would move there, and I could stop holding white districts as the gold standard of what
Absolutely.
we strive for.
Thank you.
Try to do our best self. My question is, I voted twice for the levy. I've only lived here a year and a half, right? And I've already voted twice for this levy, and I plan to vote again. But that being said, I don't see the signs out there before Spark. I don't see any signs there. My neighbors all support it on my street at least. But what are we doing given such a small portion of the community comes out to vote? And given this is all being sold as all pieces of the puzzle that have to be together, what are we going to, A, get more people out to vote, and then B, aside from this meeting, I'm assuming this is one of the efforts, but aside from this meeting, what is the district doing? Because no one has actually door knocked, put anything on the door. I haven't gotten any, like, I'm not getting anything, and I'm a homeowner in the district. If I'm wondering if other people are getting anything, I just vote because I vote, and I pro-levy. But what are we doing to get the word out? And then also, are there parts of this that maybe people are more supportive of that we could potentially have put this in the same levy every time? And I'm wondering, is it parts of the puzzle that maybe people aren't supporting? Or is it the entirety of the puzzle? Is it just people are known to practice? Have you all looked into some of the different compartments of the levy and what might be most popular to get through the things that we need, that we can get through, even if we can't get all of it through?
Okay. Excellent 15 questions. It was great. Take them one at a time. All right, the first one is, I am with you on the Mason story. I'm 100% with you. Because if we wanted to be like them, then you could go be like them. But one of the things that I do struggle with when people see our schools and they come and visit our students and talk to them, and then people come back and say, Winton Woods is the best kept secret. I don't want to be a secret. I want people to know who we are and what we do. And I do have to give some information that was a tragic piece of information, and it still just hurts my spirit that Mr. Pennycuff passed away. He was a treasurer of SEPSI, which was the treasurer for the fund for the levy. He passed away. And the hard part about it, that treasurer's job is very, very difficult. And trying to find another one. Remember, we can't release funds to buy signs and do certain things until we have a treasurer. It's noteworthy. It's with the Board of Elections and everything like that. Slowed us down. The other part that I did not want to happen, we're just breathing a sigh of relief from COVID. True or false? We just made a decision probably about a month ago, not to wear a mask. I am protective. I care. I love the teachers, I love the students, I love the staff. Trying to send people on a mission to knock on a door with a mask on and people are already hesitant, people are like, that's a turnoff. And so what we've decided to do is after this meeting, you will see signs come up because we wanted to get your endorsement and get your support. But as far as the door-to-door opportunity, we're apprehensive about doing that. Because I don't want struggles to come to your family because you're trying to help something and make it worse for you. So again, we had a lot of conversations and debates about it, and we made a decision. In order to protect ourselves, we have to look out for each other. How many of you would be inclined to open your door to a person with a mask on? People are like, not right now. Some people are a little more comfortable with it. But remember, this is not about comfort. This is about the whole concept of trust. COVID is unpredictable. It devastated systems. And I would not want to put anybody's family or anybody in jeopardy of knocking on a door with a person with a mask or a person coming to the door with a mask. Because guess what? That's not inviting. Some people won't even take your literature right now. So we have to protect each other. Instead of me putting you in a compromising situation, I can't do that. You're more important to me. Okay. Yes, sir.
So if one has the school district actually get funding from? And then I have a follow-up.
Okay, Mr. Seymour?
January of 23.
January of 2023. We're already behind.
And so what's our surplus at the end of this school year?
We haven't reached the end of the school year.
Okay, where are we projecting?
Can't give you that information because I don't know. It depends on certain things, certain variables, like if a bus breaks down, or if fuel prices go up, or if energy changes. There are certain variables that take place, but we can get you that information at the end of the year because I think it's very, very important to know. Good questions. Thank you, sir. The only thing that's sad about this conversation today is this place should be packed. It should be standing room only about how to protect the system. Because I can tell you, as soon as the cuts come, it will get packed. I have been here before. It will be standing room only where people are talking about their favorite person and their favorite program and don't get rid of this and don't get rid of that. As I mentioned to the teacher when I first came in, this can all be a moot point if people support it in the way that they should. This should have been a conversation that never went anywhere. That's the reality. So I appreciate your time. Yes?
What about if we get a huge committee and everybody spends dollars to paint out on the door, we can call them on the phone?
Okay, that's a very good question, and I am going to work with our partners at Megan and SHP. I remember, Dr. Dees, when we were very successful with the Levy, Megan gave us, SHP gave us the opportunity to come to their facility and make calls to parents because some parents would say, oh, thank you for calling me, I almost forgot. Because we kind of need that friendly reminder.
I'd be more than happy to make all the calls necessary.
Absolutely, and I'm sure there are other people that feel your same strong sentiments about it. Okay. All right, very good. All right, any other questions, comments, suggestions, or ideas? Yes, ma'am, in the back.
Forgive me if you already went over some of this, because we were a little behind trying to figure out which campus the meeting was at. But I'm a Green Hills resident, and then I have two boys that are 5th and 4th grade. And I'm also a mortgage lender. So anything that has to do with money and more property tax, especially when I already know what's projected with property taxes and how the market right now is impacting us as homeowners, I was like, okay, before I vote no, let me go and see what it's about and get more information. And so similar to what some parents were saying, I do know of parents all around Hamilton County that send their children, they're in a failing district, and they send their children to private schools because of the vouchers that they can get. And I've even thought about that with my children because we were Cincinnati transplants in 2017. But I've loved Green Hills School District. I've loved the communication. I've loved the school. I've loved the relationship with the principals, everything. And my boys even test advanced, so they've thrived in this school district. So I'm all about supporting it. But my question to you is, for the people that have the argument that, well, it's a failing school district, and for what I see that you're going to, allot the monies for, how are these funds going to help us become a succeeding and excelling school district? How are the funds going to be allotted and allocated to where our grade, like they won't have that argument? What is the talk and the discussion about that piece?
Well, there's a lot of discussions, and I think that that's for another date and time where you can actually meet with me and meet with my team, and I can give you all the parables, all the pieces that says, this is where we're trying to take the district. And when people use the term failing district, I think they need to be very careful, because when you have 60 honor diploma students, when you have 300 graduates, well, it tells me they're not failing. There are some kids who struggle, and we know that. We know that in every institution. But I think at the end of the day, if you say, think about it, you're saying that the system struggles, or someone out there in education land says the system struggles. I'm going to make sure you get less resources, and that'll make the system get better. That's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. I am going to give you less, but you will get better. Can't happen.
I think that's what I'm asking, is if if there's some information that you can give us so that we can combat that argument.
Yes, ma'am,
and say,
it is.
If you accept this, then this is what resources they're gonna have, and we're working on that. We acknowledge it, yes, you're correct. This is how we're working on it.
Okay, I can do that. Thank you. Yes.
I was just going to say, I think it's important too, the state report card factors in a lot of things like demographics, income level, and things like that. So because we serve a lot of like lower income families too, our report level goes down anyway. So because we serve a lot of families in poverty, which is not necessarily a bad thing, it grades us lower anyway. So there's a lot of other things that people don't understand about that report card system that looks derogatory against us, that's really not fair. So, you know, it's kind of skewed anyway.
And I'm a foster parent, so I get that, and even with, you know, some of the minority families or families that English is their second language and stuff, I get that. But that's what I'm saying is, I don't mind going out and being an advocate.
Yeah, if you look at, if you talk about, and thank you, because if you talk about affluent districts, and you talk about districts with socioeconomic challenges, they're really broadly against each other. And at the end of the day, Winton Woods is doing as well as districts that we're socially, economically like. And you can't jump the gun and jump way up here when there are other variables that take you into place. Imagine you're running 100 yards on the track. Just imagine this. You've got a 100-yard dash. You've got two people here that are going to run and compete. One has a straight shot, and the other has hurdles every 10 feet. You're not going to get there at the same time. I can guarantee you. So there are hurdles, there are obstacles, but when someone mentioned about kids coming from going to other places and going to private and parochial schools, well, folks, somebody loves us because people are coming here, and they don't have to. And they're not kids who are creating problems. They're kids who are high academic students that are saying, I prefer to be in your system than somewhere else. Parents are making that decision. Why they're making that decision? Because guess what? They find success, they find love, they find compassion, they find a lot of great things that happen at Winton Woods City Schools. I don't have to defend it because I feel it. Why do I know? I have 4 kids here that are getting a quality education every single day. Ms. Dees, I feel sad. I should have said that first. And my kids could be going somewhere else. Remember, here's the thing about being the superintendent. I know every other superintendent. We're not selling anything that we're not buying. My other administrators, Mr. Martin, did your son graduate from Winton Woods? Mr. Denny, your son and daughter. All right? Tanya Bray. All right? So my question is, we're only buying what we're selling and buying the same product. We're turning out a great product. Every one of these administrators in other buildings that have children in the district, they could go somewhere else. They are here for a reason, because they believe in the program. Yeah, she just told me the current mayor of Winton Woods, current mayor of Forest Park is a Winton Woods grad. And he's very supportive of the program. So we have the momentum, we just have to finish it out. So I don't want to keep you guys any longer. Yes?
So when the levy was passed in the building school, was the pre-K a part of that levy? To get a new school for that pre-K and K?
Say it again.
When the levy passed to build a new school,
yes, ma'am,
was pre-K a part of that levy?
Excellent question. All right, so here's the answer. When we went to the OFCC and we said, this is our projection, this is what we believe we're going to have in the district, the pre-K numbers were not in that formula because they're saying, well, we're only going to fund it this way.
On the ballot, when the voters voted for it, it was on the ballot, yes or no? I'm asking that.
I don't understand your question.
When we voted yes to build the new schools, when voters read the ballot, was it for first through 12 or was it for K?
I can't recall exactly what the ballot said. So on the ballot,
I believe it was for pre-K. My question is, why didn't we get a school for pre-K, but we got a school for the high school and the elementary?
you have to understand the funding formula for preschool. The funding formula for preschool is totally underutilized. It's not right. It's not accurate. So you would have to sit down with me and I can give you all the data, and I think it would make sense to you if I did that.
My thing is, if people were under the assumption when they voted for something before that this was going to happen, what makes them...
I don't think anybody was under that assumption that that was going to happen. Well, that means we misled you.
I just want my kids to peace. I was under the assumption a lot of parents were that don't have older kids but have younger kids, that pre-K, that levy affected the pre-K kids too. But come to find out, it didn't, and it was only for elementary kids in high school. So that was a disappointment. So me personally, I am against the levy. My kids are younger. I took them out of horrible experience. I took them out. My first one, my second one, she's going to private school next year. We don't use that choice. We make the decision to pay out of pocket.
Okay.
Just because the schools are failing and I've had bad experiences. That, and then on top of that, when you say you're going to do something, not you personally, but the district says it's going to do something, then it gets passed, my taxes go up. That's just crazy. I refinanced my home, and my lender was like, God, where do you live? I was like, Winton Woods. They were like, whoa, those are some high taxes. So then my taxes go up, and so what makes the district think that people that have that experience would vote for something when they were disappointed in another levy that passed? It's kind of like, look over here, but we're going to do this over here.
No, well, that's never been, that sounds like deception, and I don't deceive anyone, nor do I deceive the public ever. So that sounds like deception. And I think you and I may need to have a conversation so I can enlighten you about what the facts are, because you are misinformed.
I think maybe just makes that enlightenment public. I don't feel like...
Absolutely. That will definitely be one of my pieces to make that very transparent. But here's a piece that I want people to understand. A challenging question, a question that creates conflict, it does not matter to me. That means that there's something that's been misinformed that we need to clean up. The ones that bother me is when people don't ask questions and make decisions. I don't mind a challenging question, so I appreciate your questions. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Schmidt, I just wanted to say that there were 3 times that the bond was on the ballot.
Yes.
And the 2 times that the kindergarten village one, it didn't pass. So then it came off, and then it didn't pass. Now, I don't know if that was the reason it passed. It just passed the 3rd time. But it was on the ballot, and it was there. And so we always had kindergarten through, but when we had the pre-K on there, for whatever reason, those 2 didn't pass.
And we made some very tough decisions, and I know conversations with the board and the treasurer, people asked the question, preschool wasn't really fundamentally sound because preschool was only half day. And when we expanded the preschool to a full day program, parents were saying, I can utilize this because they didn't know what to do with their child the other part of the day. Yes, ma'am.
Just so I fully understand, and I appreciate your question, but on the pre-K, the pre-Ks existed in our district for many, many years. And it's not, when it's on a ballot, it's not specifically just that one question. It's an overarching funding that covers a lot of different aspects. We got an idea of what operational monies cover, not just the cost of staffing, but the whole plethora of operating a business, which our schools are in the business of education. Preschool has been around, and it's doing exceptionally well. I'm not sure of your personal experiences, but my personal experience with my grandson in the pre-K was extraordinary. That's why we want to grow it and enhance it. I think right now there are 500 spots. One of the fundamental changes, if people want fundamental change for making a better future for education, is to have a strong foundation. And pre-K, if you really want to put your money where your mouth is where you want to be. And if people are going to shortchange the process, we must invest in our students starting at a young age. It's not babysitting. That's one of the things I've heard a lot of people say. or why do I want to pay for babysitting for these little kids? It's not babysitting, it's pre-K training for our children. They're getting the foundation of education.
And Ms. Kuhn, I have a question to Mr. Seymour or Mr. DeMarc. What resources do we receive from preschool? How much do we receive? How much does it cost to run it? Okay. That's bad math. Okay. We receive from the government, we receive from ODE, we receive from a variety of $200,000 to operate preschool. Preschool costs $1 million. So that sounds like we're $800,000 short. And if we only took the selective students that could actually pay for preschool, that's not fair to any community anywhere. It's a sliding scale depending on your income. No. At the end of the day, I'm going to just give you the perspective that I have on it. Preschool is underfunded significantly. And if we ran preschool with $200,000, that's a teacher and maybe an aide, or maybe 2 teachers and maybe an administrator, not enough to even make the preschool program, which means it would be out of compliance because you have more kids than you have people. So the math is bad. Okay. Any other questions? And by the way, as long as I'm the superintendent and the board supports it, we're going to keep having preschool because we know kids need early entrance opportunities. If you take away preschool and now you're going to put people in, you're not going to make it. My kindergarten teachers will be struggling with the academic pieces of where the kid is, which means the first grade, they would come so far behind. Preschool is a necessity. It is not optional.
But I think you misunderstood me. I didn't say pre-K was not a necessity. I just wanted to know why it wasn't funded and treated like the other grades. That's your feeder, right? Your kids right there, you build them up, you treat them, you get the parents on board early, then
Yes.
you grow with the school, but unfortunately that's not the case.
Well, unfortunately, that is the case because guess what? That's why we have to expand preschool because we have more parents wanting it. So that is the case.
But I'm saying it wasn't expanded, but it said it was, or at least that was the impression that a lot of community people had, is that preschool would be involved with the expansion of everything else, but it seems like preschool is like the redheaded stepchild. And when I say preschool, I mean preschool and head because they're in that same building.
Okay. All right. I will end with this. As Mr. Seymour clearly stated, and I'm sure he's aware, he is our treasurer, we receive funding of $200,000 and it cost $1 million. That math doesn't fit anywhere. So we have to use resources that we really didn't account for in order to make the program work. Otherwise, you won't have any kids in the preschool program. It's a deficit. Raise your hand if your child participated and had a great experience in preschool. Anybody here was a preschool person? You've been to preschool. All right, look how you turned out. You're here. Okay. So at the end of the day, Mom, we're going to still have conversations, and I welcome you to come and have a meeting with me so we can talk about the particulars. I'm not trying to change anything. I'm just giving you the facts. That's all we're going to talk about is the facts. Because I think some of your facts are not quite the way you think they should be. I want to make sure you have facts. Okay? All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you, and get home safe.